She was once one of the most talked about names in American politics, a rising star who could energize a room like no one else. Sarah Palin made headlines as John McCain's running mate, but after her time in the national spotlight, she seemed to step away. Or did she? Here's the twist: Sarah Palin didn't disappear. She's been reshaping her image, not just as a politician but as a media personality and an outspoken advocate for her beliefs. What's driving her return to the headlines? Why is her name back in political and cultural conversations? This is where things get fascinating. Right now, Sarah Palin's connection to former President Donald Trump is more than a nostalgic memory. She remains a fierce supporter, using her platform to amplify his policies and ideals. She's embraced his maverick approach, challenging the status quo within her party. But it's not just her loyalty to Trump keeping her relevant. She's taken bold steps to remain in the game, including her recent run for Alaska's congressional seat, a move that stirred attention, criticism, and intrigue. There's a lot more to her story than meets the eye. But here's the catch: what happens next for Sarah Palin could surprise everyone. There's a specific twist in her journey that changes the narrative entirely, and we'll get to that later in the video. So stick around until the end because it's something you won't want to miss. It ties everything together and might just change how you see her comeback. Sarah Palin's political career has always been defined by bold moves, and her recent activities prove she hasn't lost her edge. Let's talk about her connection to Donald Trump, a partnership that solidified her position as a key figure in the conservative movement. Back in 2016, Palin didn't just endorse Trump, she energized his campaign by rallying the populist and Tea Party bases. Her speeches were fiery, her words unapologetic, and her support unwavering. This wasn't just a political alliance, it was a shared defiance of the establishment. Fast forward to 2022, and Palin was back in the political ring, running for Alaska's at-large congressional seat. The stakes couldn't have been higher. Alaska's unique ranked choice voting system added unexpected challenges, and the race became one of the most closely watched in the country. She lost to Democrat Mary Peltola. But here's the intriguing part: even in defeat, Palin's run revealed her enduring ambition and the complicated dynamics of Alaska's evolving political landscape. But why does she keep coming back to politics even after setbacks? Some say it's her love for Alaska. Others argue it's her determination to keep her voice relevant in national conversations. Either way, it's clear she's not giving up. And here's where things take a turn. Palin's political story isn't just about wins and losses, it's about the fight itself. What's next for her politically? That's the question nobody can answer yet, but there are clues that might hint at her next move, and we'll explore them later in this video. Stick with me because this isn't just about politics. It's about how Sarah Palin keeps defying expectations, and the reasons behind her persistence might surprise you. Let me know when you're ready for the next section. When Sarah Palin isn't making political waves, she's commanding attention in another arena, the media. And this isn't just about sound bites or headlines, it's about how she's built an entirely new platform for herself. Remember her reality TV debut? Palin took viewers into her personal world with Sarah Palin's Alaska, blending rugged family life with her political values. It wasn't just a show, it was a statement. Then came Amazing America with Sarah Palin, a celebration of patriotism and outdoor culture. These weren't typical political moves, they were calculated steps to connect with a broader audience, making her message accessible even to those outside the political bubble. But it didn't stop there. Palin also carved out a space for herself as a conservative commentator on Fox News, where her sharp takes on national issues kept her name in the conversation. Even after leaving the network, she didn't fade away. She's become a frequent guest on interviews and podcasts, offering her views on immigration, women's rights, and controversial topics like abortion. Here's where it gets interesting. Palin's media presence isn't just about keeping her name alive, it's about redefining her image. By stepping into these roles, she's proving that her influence extends beyond the confines of politics. She's found a way to resonate with people who may never have followed her political career. But there's something else driving this shift. Palin's media reinvention isn't just about relevance, it's setting the stage for her next big move. What could that be? That's a question worth staying for, because there's more to this story, and the pieces are falling into place. Sarah Palin isn't afraid to speak her mind, even on the most divisive topics. Her recent commentary proves she's as outspoken as ever, tackling subjects like women's rights, immigration, and abortion with the kind of boldness that's become her trademark. But here's the kicker: her views don't just echo the conservative mainstream, they challenge it. Take her stance on women's rights, for example. Palin argues that America already provides women with equal opportunities. She's not afraid to call out what she sees as unnecessary victim narratives. According to her, women don't need special treatment, they need to embrace their potential. It's a polarizing take, but it resonates with many who feel disillusioned by modern feminist rhetoric. Then there's her approach to abortion. In a recent interview, Palin supported Trump's position on leaving the issue to individual states. She framed it as a win for federalism, appealing to those who value states' rights. This perspective adds another layer to her populist image. She's not just standing by conservative principles, she's reframing them in ways that spark debate. And let's not forget immigration, a topic that continues to dominate the headlines. Palin has called for stricter border policies, but what sets her apart is how she ties it to broader concerns about national identity and security. For her supporters, it's a refreshing message. For her critics, it's controversial as ever. Here's what's fascinating: Palin's rhetoric is calculated. She's tapping into the frustrations of those who feel left out of mainstream conversations, positioning herself as a voice for the forgotten. But what's her endgame? Is she building momentum for another political run? Or is this all part of maintaining her public persona? That's the mystery we'll untangle later in this video. The answer might not be what you expect. Let me know when you're ready to keep going. If there's one thread that runs through Sarah Palin's political and public persona, it's her unyielding commitment to populism. She's long positioned herself as a champion of everyday Americans, and her recent rhetoric against what she calls the globalist agenda is no exception. So, what does she mean by globalism? Palin often uses the term to criticize policies and leaders she believes prioritize international interests over American sovereignty. She frames these issues in stark terms, casting herself as a defender of individual freedoms against a system she claims marginalizes ordinary citizens. It's a message that strikes a chord with conservatives who feel disconnected from mainstream politics. Palin's focus on personal rights and freedoms isn't new, but lately she's turned up the volume. In speeches and interviews, she rails against what she sees as overreach by political elites and centralized power. It's populism in its rawest form, unpolished, direct, and emotionally charged. Here's the catch: Palin's rhetoric isn't just about criticizing the status quo. She's offering herself as a solution, a leader who understands and represents the frustrations of the public. And while her critics might dismiss her words as oversimplified, her supporters see them as a call to action. But why does this message resonate now more than ever? Is it because of growing mistrust in institutions? Or is Palin's timing part of a larger strategy? The answers aren't obvious, but they're critical to understanding her broader comeback. There's a twist coming up that ties all of these threads together, one that might explain how Palin is positioning herself for the future. I don't go anywhere, it's coming soon. Ready for the next section? Let me know. What keeps Sarah Palin in the spotlight after years of polarizing headlines and hard-fought battles? The answer is simple: resilience. No matter how many challenges she faces, Palin refuses to fade away. That determination has become her trademark, and it's central to her reinvention. Let's revisit her 2022 congressional campaigns. Losing to Mary Peltola in both the special and general elections could have marked the end of her political story. But for Palin, it was just another chapter. She didn't shy away from the losses. Instead, she leaned into them, using the experience to rally her base and keep her voice in the conversation. Her resilience extends beyond politics. In the media, Palin has faced criticism, satire, and skepticism, yet she's consistently found ways to stay relevant. Whether through her television appearances or fiery interviews, she's proven that setbacks don't define her, they fuel her. And here's the most intriguing part: Palin isn't just surviving, she's evolving. She's pivoted from being a traditional politician to becoming a multifaceted public figure, part advocate, part entertainer, and part provocateur. This transformation is no accident. It's a calculated move that allows her to remain influential in a rapidly changing cultural and political landscape. But what's driving this transformation? Is it a desire to return to a formal political role, or is it something entirely different? The answer to that question reveals the core of Palin's strategy, and it's coming up in the final section of this video. Stick around because the last piece of the puzzle will change how you see Palin's journey and her future. Ready for the conclusion? Let me know. Sarah Palin's story isn't just about politics or media, it's about reinvention. Her ability to adapt, stay visible, and remain influential has turned her into a symbol of resilience in modern American culture. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Palin's comeback isn't just personal. It reflects a larger shift happening in the political and cultural landscape. By blending her political experience with media savvy, Palin has positioned herself in a way few others have. She's not just appealing to her original base, she's tapping into a new wave of populist sentiment sweeping through conservative America. Her focus on individual freedoms, her critique of globalism, and her ability to spark conversations about divisive issues have made her a lightning rod for both admiration and criticism. But what's next? That's the question everyone is asking. Will Palin aim for another high-profile political role? Will she expand her media presence even further? Or is she plotting something entirely unexpected? The clues are there, but the full picture remains unclear, and that's exactly what keeps people watching. Here's why you should care. Palin's story is far from over, and the decisions she makes next could ripple through American politics and culture in ways no one can predict. So whether you see her as a political icon or a polarizing figure, one thing is undeniable: Sarah Palin is not done making her mark. If you're as fascinated by comeback stories as this one, keep watching for more. The twists, turns, and strategies behind figures like Sarah Palin reveal what it really takes to stay relevant in an ever-changing world. Share your thoughts in the comments. Where do you think Palin's story goes from here? Let's start a conversation about resilience, reinvention, and what it means to redefine success.